I hope it is visible to everyone.
Yes,
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, named Son of Drona Punished, Sloka 42. Tatahritam Pashuvat Pashabandham Avanmukham Karma Jugupsitena Niriksha Krishna Pakritam Guru Sutam Vama Swabhava Kripaya Nanamacha Tatahritam Pashuvat Pashabandham Avanmukham Karma Jugupsitena Niriksha Krishna Pakritam Guru Sutam Vamaswabhava Kripaya Nanamacha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Suta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwadhama, who was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. Purport. Ashwadhama was condemned by the Lord himself and he was treated by Arjuna just like a culprit, not like the son of a Brahmana or teacher. But when he was brought before Draupadi, she, although be grieved for the murder of her sons, and although the murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmana or to the son of a Brahmana. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. Women, as a class, are no better than boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. Ashwadhama proved himself to be an unworthy son of Dronacharya or of a Brahmana, and for this reason he was condemned by the greatest authority, Lord Sri Krishna, and yet a mild woman could not withdraw her natural courtesy for a Brahmana. Even to date, in a Hindu family, a woman shows proper respect to the Brahmana caste, however fallen and heinous a Brahma Bandhu may be. But the men have begun to protest against Brahma Bandhus who are born in families of good Brahmanas, but by action are less than Shudras. The specific word used in this shloka is Vamaswabhava, mild and gentle by nature. A good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. But anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. One must have good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. We should not follow the mild nature of a woman and thereby accept that which is not genuine. Ashwadhama may be respected by a good-natured woman, but that does not mean that he is as good as a genuine Brahmana. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. This is a very interesting verse. The whole dramatic incident is going on at this time in our Bhagavatam reading. We see that the son of Dronacharya is being punished. So if we see the entire section, we can see that some of these are like some bits and pieces taken out from Mahabharata, just to give the history. Not every detail is present in this whole section, but some of the most important things are like highlighted. Like for example, this is the beginning. Son of Drona punished. It is not to show that Bhagavatam doesn't like to show that that this kind of things in the sense like, okay, this person is punished, so that is good or that is bad in that sense. But this whole section forms the seed for the next section where Kunti Maharani is offering prayers and Krishna protects Parikshit Maharaj. This has some connection with Parikshit Maharaj's birth, and that is why we see this section. And again, one more section is Kunti Maharani's prayers. That is also like one of the prominent portions in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is not that highlighted if we see in Mahabharata. Similarly, the section where Bhishma Dev offering prayers, that is also not like, of course, that is there in Bhishma Parva of Sri Mahabharata, and it is given in a in a slightly different way in Srimad Bhagavatam. Difference is like in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Dev is not shown as a Mahajan, whereas in Srimad Bhagavatam, it highlights the position of Bhishma Dev as a Mahajan. So in this particular section, which devotees have been churning so much since the beginning of this chapter, we have seen so many things that are happening, especially with Ashwadhama. He is actually being punished. He murdered the 5 children of Pandavas when they were asleep. The whole thing was so inglorious. That is what is mentioned here also. Most inglorious murder. And it is such a heinous act. It was even condemned by Duryodhana. It was condemned by Pandavas and Kauravas, both sides. But this person, Ashwadhama, became son of Brahmana, Drona. And so Arjuna, when he was ordered by Krishna or instructed by Krishna to kill him at once, Arjuna did not do that. We have seen, like yesterday, Amrita Kele Mataji was also mentioning about being independently thoughtful. So, so this is one very important thing we see in this particular pastime, where devotees are apparently not fulfilling the instruction of Lord Sri Krishna. Whereas Krishna is saying to kill him, Arjuna was hesitant. He brings her to Draupadi, and Draupadi forgives him. So this being independently thoughtful is being very much highlighted in this particular section. And one more thing which I wanted to highlight is that Krishna never chokes a living entity's free will. A devotee, a pure devotee, is a person who voluntarily surrenders the free will to Krishna. But that doesn't mean that he actually doesn't think at all. He also thinks, but he thinks in a way that is actually pleasing to the Lord. So in this entire section, we see that apparently Arjuna and Draupadi have taken a decision which is against the instruction of Krishna. But our acharyas say that although sometimes it appears apparently that they are going against the instruction or the will of Krishna, still their intention is to please. Like we see in this particular shloka given by Rupa Goswami, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Gnan Karmadi Anavrutam, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttama. So some time back I was discussing on this. There is intentional bhakti and there is incidental, incidental bhakti. So maybe most of the devotees here are either Bhakti Shastri students or teachers. So you all might have come across this. Um, uh, I was giving the example of Yashoda, whose devotional service was so pure. It was like, it was out of her intention towards Krishna she was serving. Whereas she, although apparently she was giving displeasure to Krishna by binding him and showing a stick to him, still it is considered to be the highest perfection of the expressing her love. On the other hand, we take the example of Trinavarta, who was apparently giving pleasure to Krishna. Krishna was very happy when Trinavarta was taking him all around Vrindavan. He was getting a nice, uh, you know, bird's eye view of the whole Vrindavan. Krishna was apparently happy, but then the intention of Trinavarta was not to please Krishna; it was to kill Krishna. So that is why it is not considered to be pure devotional service. It is actually it doesn't have that favorable aspect of bhakti. So Prabhupada clearly mentions that bhakti has to be performed favorably. Any service performed favorably, that is what is actually pure devotional service. Whereas in Trinavarta's case, we don't see that. He was intending to kill Krishna, although apparently he was giving pleasure. So that is what is incidental bhakti. He never expected that it will happen, but it happened. So in this particular case, we see that the decision taken by Draupadi is against Krishna's decision. But here Bhagavatam gives the reason for that is because uh, Draupadi is, due to her female nature, it is given in the translation, and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed some, him due respects as a Brahmana. Now, if we see in the purport, it appears that Prabhupada also is not in what to say, he's not accepting what Draupadi did. Like towards the end of the purport, we see that Prabhupada indirectly says, of course, he takes this as an opportunity to teach us something. But here he says that a good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. So here Prabhupada is trying to bring out the contrast between a person who is naive and a person who is innocent. So when Prabhupada is saying good man or woman accepts anything easily, these are the people who are generally gullible and they are kind of naive. And when Prabhupada says average intelligence, these are the people who are innocent. But when we say average intelligence, what I understand is that they are not able to exactly make decisions very quickly, but then they have average intelligence. But that those people don't do like that. Of course, more intelligent people are those who are you know who are shrewd and who are very sharp in taking decisions. But here Prabhupada is, it appears that he says, but anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. This is very important. Of course, Prabhupada may not be speaking it in context of Draupadi, in terms of what I mean to say, that he's trying to teach us something more important, that you don't need to be very in a way that you are not at all able to discriminate anything. So that is what Prabhupada is trying to tell us. One must have good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. So when we say when we say a person is naive, he is not able to decide. He's not able to um, he's not able to like clearly make a judgment. And in my personal opinion, or in my understanding, it's not that Draupadi is not able to make a clear judgment, clear decision. On her side, she is very clear. She's thinking that no, I don't want to do this. It's not that she was feeling, okay, should I kill or should I not kill? That was not there in her, at least from what we read, it doesn't appear in her character. She is very clear that I don't want to kill Ashwadhama. Whereas Krishna was very clear that he has to be killed. And Arjuna was like somewhere in between, like Krishna told, but then Arjuna took the side of Draupadi. So coming back to this point of free will, Krishna always respects the free will of every living entity. And because of that respect only, in one sense, we are all in the material world. That he never wanted to force us to stay with him or to be with him, to be his servants directly. So when we thought like, I don't want to be with you, Krishna respected our free will and he created the entire material creation just for each and every one of us. And fill the whole universe with so many things, so many facilities where we can think that we are Krishna in one sense. So one important lesson which I felt to learn from this is that when we try to guide and counsel other devotees, we should also not try to choke their free will, because sometimes it happens that the counselor or the so-called mentor doesn't give more than one choice. So I always make sure that whenever a devotee approaches me asking for some kind of advice, I say first of all that I can only give you suggestion. It is up to you on what to act upon, and I always try to give more than one choice, so that a devotee, whoever is trying to take advice or guidance, should not feel like, oh, this is not sufficient, or this is only very few choices. So this is the practical aspect I try to implement, kind of like I don't want to give only one option, and I don't even like when somebody gives the similar thing to me also, like they say that, oh, this is the only option left. Because Krishna doesn't treat like that. We see that from this pastime. Krishna is asking Arjuna to kill, but at the same time, Krishna, is giving his free will to Arjuna and Draupadi to decide. And Draupadi went against Krishna in one sense, but Krishna did not mind. Krishna is not kind of egoistic kind of God, thinking that, oh, you went against me, so I will not consider you as my devotee. No, Krishna gives, respects each and everyone in their own space. And Draupadi took this decision, and Krishna is perfectly fine with that. Although few slokas before, we see that Krishna is telling Arjuna that go ahead and kill him immediately. But here we don't see that, we don't see in Bhagavatam at least that Krishna is finding kind of difficult to go ahead with Draupadi's decision. He was displeased. No, we don't see that. We simply see that Krishna is okay in both the situations. This also shows how much Krishna is detached. Although his devotees, like we say that, devotees are those people who do whatever Krishna wants them to do. But here apparently such devotee is doing something which is not what Krishna wanted to do. But at the same time, Krishna is very detached. Krishna simply thinking, okay, fine. If it is in her hands and if it is her decision, that's okay. Even for Krishna, even with Krishna, it is okay actually. So some of the few more things which come to my mind is Prabhupada making this powerful statement in the first paragraph. Women as a class are no better than boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. What I understand from this is women are being compared to children here. When Prabhupada says boys, that is my understanding. And therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. So Prabhupada is trying to say that, men are more, men possess more discriminatory power than women. Yeah, so this is, if it is presented directly to today's world, people may feel very uncomfortable, think that, oh, how can you say that? But Prabhupada has been very clear throughout his, all the Bhaktivedanta purports. Prabhupada never gives any kind of contradictory statements. Because he's very clear in what he wanted to present. So whenever he mentioned this, there is one conversation with, I think it was with Yamuna Mataji, where Prabhupada mentions about, difference between man and woman, where he says very clearly that on a material platform, man and woman cannot be same. Why? Because, again, he says that it's not only man and woman, no two jivatmas can be same when we compare the material aspect of them, because everyone is different. Like two men are also different. It's not that they are equal. But here Prabhupada is referring women as a class are no better than boys or children, and therefore have no discriminatory power like that of a man. So it appears that Prabhupada is trying to say that, women are more kind of, soft-hearted in nature. So these two things are, kind of contradictory. A person who is soft-hearted, he always have difficulty in taking, decisions, especially strong decisions. Even if it is a man, if he is soft-hearted, we see that, we sometimes say that, oh, this person thinks like a woman. Why? Because this man thinks like a woman. He is very soft-hearted. That doesn't mean that men are always hard-hearted. Rather, they are more, as Prabhupada uses here, they are more discriminated. They are more rational in one sense. Women also can be like that. It's not that only it is like a birthright of a man that they are only rational. I have seen many Mataji devotees in ISKCON who are like extremely rational, and they just function like in Prabhupada's words, they just function like any other man. Like I have personal experience with some devotees, some very senior devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They are very, very powerful and very sharp and shrewd. And it is, I don't feel like they are being called by Prabhupada here as, having less discriminatory power. But at the same time, Prabhupada is referring women to a class where, in general, they are soft-hearted. And that is why it is difficult for them to take decision. Whereas men are more discriminatory, and that's why they are able to judge things very quickly. So coming back to that point of equality, men and women are, for that matter, no Jivatma can be equal, equated with some other living entity. But at the same time, Prabhupada says that on a spiritual platform, there is no difference. So he was trying to tell, if you want to find equality between man and woman, which the current society is trying very hard to bring about, that can be brought about on a spiritual platform. That cannot be brought about on a material platform, because in material platform, you can't equate things. You can't equate one man with another man also. There are millions of differences. Whereas when we speak of the spiritual platform, we can clearly see that, men and women, or for that matter, every living entity is same, because every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna and trying to serve Krishna in the part of Krishna's mission. So here, because of Vama Swabhava, mild and gentle by nature, Draupadi just forgave Ashwadhama, and it was possible for her. If it were somebody else, maybe they would have taken a different decision. Thing we need to see is that Krishna is happy with anything. He is not very much attached to what decision they are going to take. I think this is what I just wanted to speak. It's already 7:26. If anyone has any comments or, I don't know, questions, please feel free to ask or share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for speaking so beautifully on this controversial topic. I've been actually looking forward to hear on this. The point that you mentioned about Krishna doesn't choke the free will, that was really touching, Prabhu. I was thinking about, as a parent, how to deal with the kids' free will. There are instances where I would think I know the best for them, so this is what they have to do. So this is very eye-opening and inspiring for me to meditate upon. The other point you mentioned, Prabhu, Prabhupada is not, Prabhupada doesn't say anything contradicting, but apparently it seems contradicting, from one purport to another purport. If we see the whole section as one thing and a context, yes, we can understand. But if we just go by each purport, apparently it seems like totally contradictory sometimes. So if we could share something on when we are sharing this with, new people, this may be a common question, but just want to hear something from you on that. How do we approach and how do we share?
Actually, when it comes to sharing with new people, I generally choose some topics, which are in your terminology less contradicting. But at the same time, yeah, when I mentioned that there is no contradiction in whatever Prabhupada mentions, generally if we see from one perspective, we feel that there is some kind of contradiction, but from a higher perspective, yeah, there is no contradiction. As you said, like if you take it as a whole section, then we see less contradictory statements. But at the same time, when we see Prabhupada's role, it is not just like he's trying to impress something on us. It is something like he's giving these purports which are going to stay for a very long time to come. So many times I feel like especially sections like this, or sections like in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, Prabhupada, in one shloka, he says that, there are chances for Kauravas to win. When Bhishma was blowing the conch shell, it was to encourage, Duryodhana and all that. And immediately he says that when Krishna was blowing conch shell, he says these are mentioned as transcendental. It appears that Prabhupada is switching sides. And that is just to, make that shloka alone, full in itself. That's my understanding, that, when Prabhupada is speaking something in the purport, it is like a very tight space, if you see, because he cannot just go against the whole storyline at one level. On the other level, he cannot go uh, against the author who is actually writing these shlokas, like Vyasdev or anyone. Of course, it doesn't mean that he has to go against if he has to present his thoughts or views. But in general, Prabhupada at the same time wants to give something to the society, or something to the people who are reading the purports, which can be easily applicable to them. So in that sense, it's a very tight space. And Prabhupada is, if you see the purports, all the purports of Prabhupada in entirety, Prabhupada is very expert in, walking through that tight space and still creating an impact on the reader, saying that, yeah, this is the essence of the entire thing. Like if we see, like one of the statements which I like the most, which I heard from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, is that many times we read Bhagavad Gita, it appears that, when Krishna says Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga, whatever Krishna says, Prabhupada is only referring to Bhakti Yoga. And many times it's Prabhupada just translates karma also like into bhakti. So in one sense, Prabhupada doesn't take the technicality too much in that context. Rather, he is trying to, like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's actual statement is that what Krishna wanted to tell towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is saying from the beginning of Gita. Everywhere he's saying the same thing. Why? Because Prabhupada wanted to stress on that end message of Gita, that one has to surrender to Krishna, and that is the ultimate thing. And Prabhupada, because of the given time, place, circumstances, even for today, they are applicable. Anybody opens any page of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada wanted them to take full advantage. And that is why he was just directly giving the message. But sometimes, like as I mentioned, the first chapter of Gita, if you read, some places Prabhupada appears like he's on the side of Kauravas. Like, he's saying that these people have the great chance to win. But most of the places, these are very few. Most of the places Prabhupada says, especially from the 14th shloka of first chapter, Prabhupada says, these are signs of victory, and Pandavas are going to win, and all that. He creates a kind of enthusiasm in the reader to know, hey, what is going to happen? Are they going to win? Are Kauravas going to win? Or Pandavas are going to win? So in that sense, if we see this topic also, we understand that Prabhupada at one time he says, okay, Arjuna is supported, like Arjuna. Prabhupada says Krishna is saying that he has to be killed. But then in this particular shloka, he says, no, actually Draupadi is a Vamasvabhava. She is very gentle and mild in nature. So she chose to forgive, Ashwadhama. So in that sense, as you rightly mentioned, Mataji, the whole section, if we take, we don't have much contradictions. And also to resolve those apparently present contradictions, it is always, better to read it in the context of other acharyas. Also, we have commentaries from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baldev Vidyabhushan especially, and of course from Jiva Goswami for Bhagavatam and all. So when we read them in that context, we feel like, oh man, this is, I'm going to get some higher understanding. We surely get that actually. So if we read from the entirety, from the point of entirety, we see that Prabhupada's purports are not at all contradicting. He is simply mentioning, same thing, almost same things everywhere, except for those differences which come because of the context, not because of difference in philosophy. When we present to other people also, we should make it very clear that this is the context and this is the philosophy. Like many times people have this understanding like Bhagavad Gita is a book which promotes war, but war is only the context. It's not the core message of Gita. So I try to make this differentiation very clear, Mataji. Like when I'm presenting to someone, I say this is the context in which it is spoken, and this is the essential message. Many times it appears, I mean, it is a fact that context is in line with the message which is spoken. But sometimes, especially like, Bhagavad Gita kind of, that kind of themes, where context is war, whereas the essential message is bhakti, which in one sense promotes peace and harmony and all that. So we need to make that differentiation and present it in such a way that people understand both of them in line with each other, or maybe, if they are different, then we should make it very clear that, these are how things are presented. I hope that answers, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very helpful.
Anyone else has any other comment, or else it's already past 7:30, 4 minutes past. Okay, I think if no one else has any comments, then we'll stop here. I have to seek forgiveness from many devotees. I was last 2 weeks I was not very regular in Bhagavatam classes. Please pray for me that I can be more regular and take advantage of all of your association, and that alone gives me a hope. Thank you very much. I was attending a little bit here and there, maybe 4 classes a week or something. I want to attend more regularly, be present in all the days, all 7 classes. Please pray for me. Thank you very much. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.